Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to welcome you to the high-level conference on justice for children jointly organized by European Union and United Nations Children's Fund. It is part of our continued support neighboring in establishing the reforming their juvenile justice system. It is also a reflection of the fact that we care for our children, in fact for all children, before taking stock of the current state of play and what needs to be done in the future. Let me underline my strong commitment to the implementing the European Union policy on the promotion and protection for children's rights. This calls for a reforms cooperation with national authorities and civil society that we can ensure that children are treated as fully fledged members of society. There are still many challenges regarding the rights of child and juvenile justice within the UE. In fact, the UE itself has adopted several pieces of legislation relevant to children in justice in recent years. For example, the Directive on Sexual Abuse and Exploitation, the Anti-Trafficking Directive, and we intend to propose a new measure on suspects and defendants. The participation of enlargement countries in this conference is very relevant because the topic of today's conference is a priority area for the UE in their actions process. Indeed, the UE acquires on children's rights and children's protection. It's not limited to Chapter 23, Judiciary and Fundamental Rights. No less than 17 other acquired chapters contain legal instruments that have important provisions on children's rights and protection. Despite some progress, there are still scope for considerable improvement when it comes to children's rights. I am thinking in particular about the need to overcome installations of children and to promote preventive mechanisms in support of families. And our concerns don't just end there. Let me mention 6 other important areas that need to be addressed. Lack of prioritizing children's rights in criminal proceedings, lack of adequate facilities corresponding to specific needs to juveniles in detention, insufficient free legal aid for juveniles, repressive responses to juvenile offending, lack of effective alternatives to detention and hence an overuse of detention, and lack of specific measures for child victims leading to unnecessary trauma and revictimization. This is why it's so important that neighboring and enlargement countries not only adhere to international human rights standards, but they must also ensure effective criminal justice legislation, which in some countries is very progressive. Support for justice reform is one of the core pillars of European Union external action. It aims at ensuring judicial independence, impartiality, and integrity, increasing the performance, efficiency, accountability, and transparency of the justice sector, improving access to the justice for the poorest and the most vulnerable, and improving detention conditions, introducing alternatives to imprisonment. Successful justice reform initiatives are those built on national priorities, enjoying full political commitment and national ownership, as well as reinforced partnership between civil society and state decision makers. I would like to remind you about the ongoing support that the European Commission is providing in the neighborhood and enlargement countries. In the neighborhood countries, the Commission is supporting juvenile justice reform with the rule of agenda in Ukraine, Georgia, Moldova, Azerbaijan, Armenia, through financial and technical assistance provided by the European Neighborhood and Partnership Instrument. In the enlargement countries, the Commission has been providing support through the Instrument for Pre-Asian Assistance for the strengthening child protection measures in general and to support assistance for child victims and juvenile justice systems, in particular Kosovo, Montenegro, former Republic of Macedonia, and Turkey. Support for civil society working area of the child protection has also been provided. Enlargement countries are gradually aligned with their legislation with the EU's acquis, and the Commission is monitoring this process, including when it comes to the rights of the children. I would like to underline that data collection is an important part of the monitoring work. The European Commission supports enlargement in neighborhood countries to strengthen their statistical capacity so that the reliable data is available to support modern policy making. We remain committed to supporting projects and policies that enhance child protection system and strengthen the rights of child, including as vitamins or context criminal proceedings. Recognizing the juvenile justice reform is a key and point for the promotion and protection of children. EU support to date in advancing the juvenile justice reform agenda has focused on two areas. First, the reform for the promotion and protection of children's rights, in particular by encouraging and supporting the enactment and review of national legislation, compatibility with relevant international standards on the rights of children, in particular the Convention on the Rights of Child, and enhancing the capacity of law enforcement agencies of investigations into the violation of children's rights and the development of child-friendly procedures in pre-trial and court proceedings. Second, combating discouragement violation of the children's rights, in particular by prohibiting violation of children's rights and ill treatment of children in law, including criminal law, and ending impunity for violation for children's rights, and taking effective legislative, administrative, judicial, and other measures to prevent violation of children's rights under the jurisdiction of the state of combat impunity of such violation. We do not work alone. UNICEF is one of our traditional partners whose vital work in the field is advancing the children's rights agenda in line with international standards. The best practices. I am particularly proud of the cooperation that we have established with UNICEF to face the consequences of the Syrian crisis. When I was in Jordan recently, I went to Zahra Tarif refugees camp in the inaugurated a school run by UNICEF, funded by the European Commission. Through this concrete cooperation, we are giving children living in camps in surveillance of normal life an opportunity to acquire knowledge for rebuilding their lives. Through innovative approaches, research know-how, and constant involvement, UNICEF has greatly contributed in advising countries on how to reform their juvenile justice system based on modern legislation, policies, and operations. Today we have the opportunity to discuss our achievements, but also that remains to be done, and how so that children can enjoy their rights and freedoms, states that can properly respond to their demands and expectations. That is the world we seek. It is in our mutual interest, and it is our common goal that the children deserve nothing less.